Hello, my friends, and welcome to Youth Potential, a channel dedicated to helping young people with mental health problems. I have two books available, 102 Distraction Techniques and Self-Harm to Self-Harmony. Both of these books are only available on Amazon. Thank you very much for watching this video. Hello, my friend Scott here representing Youth Potential. This video is completely unscripted. There's no notes, no bullet points. No one asked me to make this video. I just felt self-motivated to make this video because I think there's a lot of people who follow me that could really benefit from it, and one particular special person, I hope she's watching this. So I really wanted to talk about growing up and how mentally challenging and how difficult it can be. So from personal experience, during my younger years, I was kind of, before depression started kicking in, I was kind of under the impression, I was brought up and influenced by the fact that to be an adult, you had to be, a happy adult that was doing well. You had to, go to school, get good grades, go to college or university, get a degree or whatever it is, and then you can do whatever you want with life and you'll be happy forever after. I was also brought up on the idea that for a family to be really happy, that mummy and daddy had to be together. And I was also brought up on the idea that you had to earn a lot of money to be considered successful and just happy. So I kind of had these stereotypes growing up, money equaled power, success equaled money, and success equaled happiness. It was kind of brought upon me by families, the way that I saw things in movies, the way that I perceived things in movies growing up, advertising, marketing, everything's got to be the best. You've got to have this, you've got to have that. You've got to be earning good money, else you're going to be poor, you're going to be working in a fast food chain, and that means you're going to be a scumbag and you're going to be unhappy. And unless you're in a relationship, you're going to be miserable. Unless you have a good degree or education, you're stupid and you're not worthy of being successful. Just all these kind of things, really. And I really believed that for a long time. Right up until kind of like early adulthood, really. And I'm sure you guys watching this have had similar misconceptions of growing up and becoming an adult and what it really means to be happy. So I come to about the age of 14, going into 15, and it starts to dawn on me that I don't actually know what I want to do. I started off wanting to be a pro BMX rider and a car designer, photographer, being a rock band, all the typical stuff. And then life really starts to shit on you, and people around you, whether you know them personally or not, or whether they're supposedly a friend or a family member, they really start to kind of, you tell them what you want to do and then they piss on your bonfire. They tell you, oh, that's not going to be doable. You need to aim for something more realistic. And then you try to think of something more realistic and you think, oh, I don't know, maybe I could be like a software engineer or a school teacher, And then you start to go through the motions and you think, oh, do you know what? I'm not actually capable of this, because I've had people left, right and centre tell me that I'm not good enough and has knocked my confidence. And although at home I didn't have my confidence knocked directly like that, it was more of a case of like, you need to work harder, you need to do this. And I felt like this tremendous amount of pressure to absolutely work my socks off. Otherwise I was going to be a nobody, So I started to fall into depression and having suicidal thoughts at like the age of 15. And that was that pushed me And then there was this bit of hope when school finished. It finished secondary school, and I kind of thought, okay, I'm just going to bumble along. I'm going to study art and IT in sixth form, and maybe life will just sort itself out. And that's what I kind of thought. Got in sixth form and thought, do you know what, this just isn't for me. I want to kill myself. And that sounds dramatic, but that's the actual truth. You know, because I was looking around at other people and they just seemed to be doing so well in their education. You know, they had a part-time job. I had a part-time job as well. They were doing well in their studies. They were working their asses off. You know, they weren't wasting their time, you know. And I just felt incomplete and I felt inadequate. Things weren't really going well at home at all. And, you know, I was struggling with the workload. And it just got to a point where I felt like I'm not going to be successful. I'm not going to be anything special. I'm not going to have a good job. And I'm going to be a nobody. And because of the amount of pressure that I felt at home, being a nobody wasn't something that I wanted to be. And I felt ashamed of that was the path I was going to go down if I carried on living. So therefore I, you know, was self-harming and tried to take my own life several times. And when I look back upon my sort of like late teens, early adult years, although I had all that kind of pressure, I had to kind of, you know, after suicide attempts and that, I just thought, I can't keep doing this to myself. Like, you know, I felt like the black sheep of the family for a long time. You know, I started like smoking weed as well, and I was just stuck in this rut. You know, didn't know what I wanted to do, felt ashamed of myself, but I didn't want to like kill myself anymore. I was just really trying to fight that. So I was still in the same part-time job that I had since I was like 16. So I'd been kind of doing this for like 2 and a bit years now. And I just thought, you know, I asked my boss, you know, can I turn this into a full-time job? You know, can I work full-time hours? And she said, yes. And the year that kind of followed that, I was really trying my hardest to kind of just do my own thing, you know. I know it's hard to like think about, ignore what other people have to say about you, but I was just doing my own thing, you know, and I was becoming happy about it. I worked a job, I did like 5 days a week, and like, what did I earn? About anywhere between sort of like £175 and £200 a week. I just worked in a restaurant, you know, worked on a bar, did kitchen work as well. And I was okay doing that, you know, I was earning good money. I passed my driving test, and, you know, I was proud of my job. You know, it wasn't anything special just working in a restaurant as a chef and a barman and all that, but it was better than being in education. That's how I felt. And it was better than wanting to end my life. And, you know, I started to gain more confidence, you know, going in and just honestly trying to do a good job. You know, I wasn't trying to slack off or just cut corners. I generally wanted to do a good job. I've always had that kind of ethic, sorry. And then that kind of transformed into being more confident socially. So I started to regroup with a lot of friends from school that I kind of pushed myself away from during like the really depressive years. Got back together. I was just being a bit more normal, you know, going out for friends with drinks, going out, you know, going to the cinema, going to play video games around each other's houses, you know, that kind of stuff. If I'd have looked at that 18-year-old, 19-year-old me, although I was still trying to fight mental illness at that point, if I'd have looked at that segment in my life at the age of 15, I would have considered myself to be a loser, a nobody, and it would just, I wouldn't be proud of that. But now that I'm 29, I look back 10 years ago, and that was kind of like the real tipping point between being suicidal and trying to fight mental illness. there's nothing to be ashamed of, you know. All I was doing was working a standard job, earning below average income. I was just having fun, you know, and that kind of lasted up until like my early 20s. Again, if I'd have been 15 and looked into the future, I would have been like, what a loser. But I look back now and I think, you know, I just come through that shit end of being a teenager, not knowing what I wanted to do in my life, that, you know, going from a late teen to an early adult. That in itself is an achievement, you know. I look at that, yeah, it was basic, but I was having fun. And it's more important to have fun than to work yourself into a horrendous amount of stress and trying to meet other people's expectations. If you live with a mental illness, I can tell you now, sometimes just having a bit of fun for a year or whatever time you want to put on it is going to do more for you in the long run than running yourself into the ground trying to overwork yourself in achieving things because that's what you've been brought up to believe. So going from late teens to early adult, I worked my way up in my job till the age of sort of like 20, nearly 22. Got spotted for another job, just did a regular day of work. Someone comes in and practically offered me a job, went for the interview, got it. 7.5 years later, I still work for that same hotel chain. You know, I worked my way up. At the age of 23, my ex and I had our first child. You know, we got our own place together, and you know, I was really proud of myself. You know, had a child, had our own place, owned my own car, and you know, I was mid-20s. Just again, if I was like 15, looking at the circumstance that I was in, saying how shit it was, that I'm never going to make anything in my life. If I'd have looked at myself at the age of 18, I would have been ashamed of that. But if I could look even further than that, to about the age of 24, I'd think, how the fuck did I go from being struggling and being a nobody, not knowing what I wanted to do in my life, to being a dad, a really well-respected manager who earned good money and was working towards his future. You know, when you're young and you're struggling with your thoughts and your mental illness, it's really hard to look beyond, I don't know, even a couple of weeks in front of you. But so much can change. You can change and develop and grow as a person in such a short space amount of time. Like even in 10 years, I've gone from trying to end my life to having my own family with 2 children, our own home, great job, great pay. I've lived through all that. That all broke down. Went through shit, tried to take my own life several times, and then slowly started to rebuild that. And now Youth Potential is my baby. Okay, I don't live with my children anymore. That's fine. Actually, why did I say that? It's not fine. I don't live with my children anymore. You know, I had a bad mental health relapse 2 years ago, and I'm still kind of fighting that. But even in the 2 years since me and my ex, the mother of my children, broke up, you know, I've managed to rebuild. I've managed to get 2 books self-published. I've started writing the 3rd one. I've gone to over 2,000 YouTube subscribers, over 1,500 Instagram followers. I have people messaging me and emailing me, telling me that they appreciate my work, and God, that makes me happy every time I read something like that. People asking for my help. People generally care about what I have to say. And I've been fighting borderline personality disorder, depression, anxiety, self-harm, suicidal thoughts. Tried to take my own life several times. I've had my medication restarted and increased. I've been in a psychiatric ward 3 times in the last 2 years. Christmas is under a week away, and I'm not even allowed to see my children over that period of time, but that will fix itself when I prove that I'm good. I found love again. I never thought after my last partner that I could fall in love again, and I was proved wrong. You know, so the point I'm trying to make, guys, is that growing up is tough. You can only see a short space in front of you, and you think it's the worst thing ever, and that you are nobody. But I've been the teenager that's troubled. I've been the young adult that's still trying to find his way. I pushed through all that and made myself who I am today. I've fallen down into the worst place I've ever been to, and I've risen up again, and I'm still rising now. So please, don't think that because you've got no education or no money, or you've had a shit start in life and you don't know what you want to do with your life, don't think that your life can't be amazing. It's still going to be hard, but you're going to be able to do it, okay? I used to think I was thick as shit. I used to think that I wasn't worthy of anything great. But I proved myself wrong. And I've had to have people help me along the way. There's no shame in that. But I've fallen and I've risen. I've fallen again and I'm rising again. So it is possible, okay? No matter how shit things are, this time next year, things will be vastly different for you, okay? You don't need to look at yourself and think life isn't worth living, because it is, all right? It's a roller coaster, believe me. It really, really is. Life can be really fucking shit sometimes. But I tell you what, there is more good in this life and in your life. You might not be able to see it right now because you're looking too close at the problems, but beyond that, life can be amazing, I promise you. Having that hope keeps me going every single day. Thank you for watching this video.